Hello and welcome back to St John's Seminary in Wonersh. I'm here for our pilgrimage series of videos. You know, during the lockdown it can feel a bit oppressive and many of us are dreaming of going out to all sorts of exciting places. So we're doing a few videos to show you about some various places of pilgrimages, places that are important for our faith that we might like to travel to. And today I'm joined by Joseph, who's going to tell us a little bit about Medjugorje. Now, I suppose, Joseph, it's perhaps one that people might not have heard of quite so much compared to the Holy Land or Lord. Perhaps it's a little bit unfamiliar, but it's certainly growing in popularity, isn't it? Can you tell us a bit about Medjugorje?
Yeah, absolutely is. I think the thing with Medjugorje which makes it so unique is that it's still ongoing. And of course those first apparitions, it started in 1981, and there were six people, young children who Our Lady appeared to. And those first apparitions have been approved, but obviously the ongoing ones haven't. So, it's such a special place of pilgrimage that attracts so many people around the world. And actually, one of the things that's quite striking about it, that seems to be, have frequently sort of happened, is people tend to find their vocations there. There seems to be, many priests sort of emerging from it, and.
Well, that's a wonderful thought, isn't it? That it's having such an impact. Yeah. Could you tell us a bit? Does Our Lady have like a particular message, or is there an emphasis? What sort of things are associated with Medjugorje in particular?
Yeah. So with Medjugorje, it continues on really in what Our Lady was saying at Fatima, and very consistent with several different apparitions over the centuries, really. But it's that, I would say, that basic call to repentance, to faith, especially receiving the sacraments, drawing from what Christ has given us in the sacraments, in confession and going to the Eucharist frequently, and in that sense, very, very simple. A lot of the messages that Our Lady gives, but there is a real urgency about them. It's like this is the time to come back to the Lord, and as with certain other apparitions, especially like Fatima, there's a warning element to it, which is connected very strongly early on, sort of 10 years after the first apparitions or so. We had the war in that region of the world, of course. So. And that was sort of prophesied, and there was that kind of encouragement of Our Lady initially saying, really to encourage people to return to prayer, to fasting, to frequently receiving from the sacraments.
I must say I've never been to Medjugorje and I don't know too much about it, but one of the images that I've seen of it is just of huge numbers of people going to make their confession, and lots of young people in particular, which is such an encouraging sign for this hugely important sacrament for our faith. Yeah,
absolutely. I think you can't help but be sort of touched by that when you go there. Frequent queues of confessions day in, day out, and that really is, I think, one of the strongest elements of people I've spoken to that have gone there. It's their experience in confession, and actually I think it seems to be a place where people find themselves going and then making their first confession for several decades or whatever it is, such a long time, and so it can be really significant in that sense.
Certainly. And we mentioned it was it's in Bosnia actually, isn't it? I think we perhaps should have said that at the start.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, and it's again, from what I hear, quite a beautiful place. There's the church and then mountains around. Am I right?
That's right. It's Medjugorje. The name is actually, I believe, it translates to mean like the place between two hills. So in the area you have two hills, and they happen to sort of correspond to two of the main. One of them is like the main kind of apparition site where the first apparition took place. It's called Apparition Hill, and several parts to that kind of area. Our Lady appeared in several parts of that mountain. Well, it's not really a mountain; it's a hill. But the other hill, so to speak, which is often called Cross Mountain, and it's marked by a big cross at the top. And that's a place, people regularly go to do stations of the cross there. So Medjugorje, the town, it just sits between these two hills, and it's a beautiful area, and very much off the beaten track.
Yeah.
So there's not much civilization around, and of course, since the apparitions took place, and pilgrims came in, and it grew more popular, the infrastructure is developed, and you get so many more shops and restaurants and things like that, hotels. But that doesn't take away from the place really having that sort of more, rural kind of appeal in a sense, And it's you go up one of the hills or the cross mountain, and you can look around and just see such an amazing view of other mountains and things in the distance, cliffs in the distance, and it's spectacular.
It sounds very beautiful. Yes. Now you said you mentioned it had a lot of impact on people's vocations. Perhaps last of all you could just share something about the effects it's had on you and your prayer life, your vocation, or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I found myself going to Medjugorje for the first time in 2014, and at this stage I was considering a vocation. I was thinking about the priesthood and applying, but I wasn't certain about it. I had made a sort of decision to myself to make steps to sort of pursue it in some way, or sort of at least discover, to see what would happen. And I found myself given an opportunity to go to Medjugorje, and it was a family friend who, he usually sort of brings pilgrims there quite regularly, and it really struck me powerfully, because when I arrived, I wasn't sure what to expect, and I've got to admit I did associate quite a sort of religious extremism, sort of a few quite eccentric people, sort of talking about it, and I kind of thought, maybe I'm not going to quite get on with this place.
That's uncertain, yes.
But when I was there, there's a piece in the atmosphere that's quite incredible. It kind of just the more time I spent there, the more that piece kind of seeped in, and it's not like, as well, I wouldn't describe it as this kind of place that's filled with all sorts of consolations alone. It's a place where, you can go walking up, say, Apparition Hill, and you can go there to pray, but it's also a place to really sort of work through problems. But the power of prayer is something kind of tangible.
Yeah.
And I think Our Lady's presence is tangible. It is that presence of peace, and it kind of saturates the area. And I think the other thing is it's funny, really. We talk about these apparition sites, they're kind of like holy places, and it's like, because the atmosphere is kind of affected by what's going on. And so I found it was very different to sort of praying here, or at home or whatever. It seemed to open up sort of something else.
That's definitely the experience of pilgrimage, isn't it? That being outside of our comfort zone or out of our usual routine really sort of shakes us up and makes us consider those deep questions, the joys, the sorrows, the difficulties, and kind of we confront them in a very real way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that with us, Joseph, and thank you for joining us here today. Please keep us in our prayers and be assured that we're praying for you too. So thank you very much, and see you soon.